Have you ever wondered how you can improve your longevity? It's perhaps the holy grail of science, and it's piqued our interests for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Before we dive any deeper, I just want to clarify some terminology. I'm using the term longevity here in a similar way to health span. That is a prolonged duration of quality life, whilst the term lifespan is used as a simple metric to denote the time from birth to death. And over the past century, lifespan has seen a massive growth due to advances in medical care and public health initiatives. However, what we see is an increase in longevity. What we typically see is a slow decline over the last 20 years of our life, with one chronic disease popping up after another, decreasing our function in life until we slowly come towards death. And this is why we need to shift our focus towards longevity, optimizing our life so that we can live for as long as possible, but in the best possible health, and avoiding the slow decline and lack of function, quality of life that we so often see in the aging population at the moment. And in looking at new to optimize our longevity, first important to recognize there is a genetic component to this. Recent advances in whole genome sequencing have identified certain genes that do seem to be protective towards aging and others that seem to cause a negative impact. However, studies using twins have shown that the genetic impact on our longevity appears to only be between 20 and 30%. And other studies have shown that out of that risk of genetic influence, we can modify up to 60% of that through effective lifestyle choices. And research shows that individuals with what seems like a genetic predisposition towards longevity often have genetic variants that help protect them against some of the big chronic diseases, things like heart disease, cancer, and inflammation. That being said, though, we can address this if we don't have those protective genes through lifestyle intervention approaches. So what you can do is get a genetic test. You can see which variants that you do have, any of the bigger ones that could cause a risk, one of which is the ApoE4 allele, which creates a greater predisposition for Alzheimer's. Then you at least know what your risk is, and you can take steps to modify your lifestyle to make sure you're optimizing against it rather than making poor lifestyle choices, which could be further increasing your risk. Now, as I mentioned, what it is clear is that lifestyle factors play the largest contribution towards our longevity. And this is great news because we have the power to address these and make sure that we can optimize them to control our longevity, at least up to the maximum that we have capacity for. Remember, it's about fighting back against those chronic diseases and ensuring that we have good quality of life as we age. And I'll give you a bit of an overview now of what some of those factors are, as well as what research shows to be some of the ways in which we can use them to optimize our longevity too. Now, quality sleep has been shown to be strongly linked with our longevity. Previous studies linking good quality sleep with favorable metabolic profiles and improved cognitive function as we age. There's also links with sleep and some of those markers of disease. Good sleep is linked to things like lower inflammation and decreased blood sugar levels. Just goes to show that achieving optimum sleep is good for our health and our longevity. And most research seems to suggest that between 7 and 8.5 hours of sleep a night is the sweet spot for most of us. Though there is an individual component to this, some of us can deal with less sleep whilst others need a bit more. So it's about finding what works best for you. For me, I wear an Oura ring here so I can track my sleep data. And from this, I know that for me to achieve optimal health, I need between 7.5 to 8 hours of quality sleep a night. So ideally, I try to go to bed giving myself 8.5 hours sleep, recognizing that I have 15 minutes to read in bed and possibly another 10-15 minutes to sleep, giving me that solid 8 hours that I need. Nutrition plays a pivotal role in our longevity too. Whilst it's clear that excessive consumption of ultra-processed foods is likely to increase our mortality risks, there are certain foods which are known to provide a protective effect. Things like omega-3, berries, green tea, increasing our intake of cruciferous vegetables and fiber are all known to provide protection against chronic disease. And our protein intake is a really big one too, particularly so as we get older, as our protein intake can be linked to a decreased risk of sarcopenia. Optimal levels of protein, we're more likely to maintain our muscle mass as we age, meaning we're less likely to experience frailty and will have a better quality of life. And most research seems to suggest that the optimum range for protein is between 1.2 to 1.6 grams a day. The higher levels, particularly if you're more active or training too. The Mediterranean diet regularly tops the polls of the diet most strongly associated with longevity. So it's no surprise that a couple of the blue zones, these blue zones are the areas in the world where there is an increased frequency of much older living people with extreme longevity, are within the Mediterranean region. And it's likely that the olive oil, fresh fruit and veg, fiber, decreased sugar all contribute towards the longevity boosting effects of the Mediterranean diet. It would be remiss not to mention intermittent fasting, which has recently been garnering much more attention too due to its potential impacts on our longevity. One of the reasons this may be so beneficial is due to its potential to activate autophagy. This is our cellular internal recycling process, which allows us to get rid of a lot of damaged or no longer working proteins, clear everything out, break things down so we can have a fresh cellular environment functioning optimally. And whilst more evidence is needed to support its long-term effects in humans, calorie restriction is arguably the gold standard of interventions to extend lifespan in a range of animal models. And there have been interesting data in humans, for example, with a calorie trial that showed big improvements in health with a calorie deficit diet over just 2 years. Now, calorie restriction is different to intermittent fasting. But what it can be said is, depending on the time and context, it is likely that periodically reducing our food intake can provide a beneficial impact on longevity. After all, there's got to be a reason why fasting in one form or another is included in the majority of major world religions. And physical activity is the next cornerstone of healthy aging, mitigating against decreases in muscle function as we're optimizing our cardiovascular health. And the research suggests that it's both cardiovascular capacity and strength which are the two biggest contributors towards our longevity. And within this, it's important to remember to get good balance of activity. Things like resistance training and strength training, lower intensity cardio training and higher intensity cardio training, and incorporating some balance and flexibility too, as each one of these factors pulls on different levers that can optimize our longevity. Another crucial factor which impacts our longevity is our exposure to toxins. Now, everyday products and environmental pollutants can all build up in our bodies over time, contributing towards increased cellular aging and decreasing our longevity. Toxic metals, pesticides, and endocrine disruptors can disrupt our hormonal balance, increase inflammation, and decrease cellular function, which can all contribute towards increased aging and increase our chances of developing chronic disease. And minimizing our exposure by choosing natural cleaning products, eating organic food, and drinking clean water can significantly reduce our toxin load. And a few simple ways that we can help support our body's detoxification processes include getting outside, doing some activity. Both the sunlight and the activity increase our sweat, which can carry toxins out of our body. Increasing our consumption of cruciferous vegetables, as these contain compounds that help support our liver's detoxification pathways. And drinking plenty of fresh, clean water, which can help flush out any toxins through our kidneys. And lastly, on this list, though there are other factors that contribute to, we've got stress management, which is a really big player in our longevity, something that's often overlooked too. And the unfortunate truth is that stress does play a big role in many of our lives and has a really negative impact on both our immediate health and our longevity. And this is why reducing stress and practicing optimum stress management techniques and activating our parasympathetic nervous system have been shown to have really protective effects on our longevity. And one of the reasons for this is that inflammation is known to be one of the biggest markers of our longevity. And stress plays a huge role in increasing inflammation, which then decreases our chances of having an optimal longevity. Now, practicing effective stress management techniques is vital towards optimizing this area of our longevity. Things like meditation, deep breathing, and taking a slow, peaceful walk in nature have all been shown to have really positive effects on our stress. In addition to that, we can try reframing the stress itself. We recognize that stress is only a stress if we see it as that. So it's about the perception we have over an event or future event. So if we can reframe that in a positive way, seeing a good outcome from it or viewing it as a challenge, then we may not see it as stressful in the first place, and thereby having better management of stress itself. Now, ultimately, we can see that our longevity is a multifaceted outcome comprised of lifestyle choices, genes, and proactive health management. And by optimizing some of these simple pillars that I've gone through today, we can really address some of those root causes which can give us our best chances of optimizing our longevity. Once we've done these bits, there are additional hacks and tweaks that we can do to get a few extra benefits over and above this. But really, it comes down to addressing these key lifestyle factors first, making sure we've got that base set, as that's what will give us the biggest overall benefit on our chances to optimize our longevity, living as long as we can in the best possible health.